Alrighty, this is Mr. Brown, CNT125 Orientation Lab. This is part 2. In the first part, we got our workstations cabled up. We went to the work area, went to the closet, cabled up. Second part, we did our IP addressing static on this side, dynamic on this side, and we got some connectivity working through our network. So part 3 now, we're going to work with our protocol analyzer. Hopefully you remember this guy. This is basically our packet capture tool, very similar to Wireshark if we would be on campus, or in a lab room I should say. This is going to capture some packets for us to allow them to look at them. So what we're going to do here is we're going to get this packet sniffer set up to capture just basic ICMP ping traffic, and then we're going to move some traffic through and take a look at those ping packets. So let's open our sniffer. We're going to go to the GUI tab here. Right now it's set up to capture nothing. So we are going to edit our filters, and under IP4 we want it to capture ICMP. We don't really need anything else. We're just going to capture basic ping traffic. So I'm going to close that. You'll notice that shows up on the list. You can leave this open on yours if you want. I'm going to close it just for simplicity to clean up the screen a little bit. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to issue some ping traffic. I'm going to go from the Harrisburg PC over to the web server. So Harrisburg PC, I'm going to ping over to the web server. When I do, that traffic will move through this hub here. Hopefully remember hub layer 1. That repeats traffic at every port. So it's going to repeat it to the router, and the router will move it on. But it's also going to repeat it to the sniffer, and the sniffer is going to capture all those packets so we can see them. So Harrisburg PC, let's ping the web server again. Ping 192.168.30.4. And I should get a couple successful pings, which I do. Good. I'm going to close that. What I want to do is open my sniffer now, and I should see some ICMP packets. And I'll see a request to reply, request reply. Let's open one of these, and I'm going to open my sniffer window a little larger so we can see everything. Here's our Ethernet header. Hopefully remember that from before. Ethernet header, preamble, starter frame delimiter, destination MAC address, source MAC address, type field data, frame check sequence, etc. Then we have the IP header. This is an IP packet. ICMP uses IP addressing. So here's our IP header, including source IP, destination IP. Source IP was my, Harrisburg PC. The destination was the web server 30.4. And then if I keep going after the IP header, I will actually see the ICMP header and then the ICMP data, which would be down here. And that's actually just a series of it's actually ASCII characters that get sent, just basic, basic filler data, if you will. So there is my packet that I've captured, kind of refreshing our memory on this Ethernet header, IP header, ICMP header. This was our layer 2, layer 3 headers, if you will. Hopefully you remember that from 120 as well. So there is our protocol analyzer, our packet sniffer, taking a look at these source and destination. And actually, I think I'm going to look at the next packet in line here. We looked at the first one. Now if I look at the second one in line, what I'll see is I should see everything flip-flop. In this case, the source is the web server coming back to me. That's the destination, my Harrisburg PC. So that's the request reply. The first ping packet here was the request, and then the second one is the reply coming back saying, yes, I did get it. So there's a quick refresher on using our packet sniffer and looking at some packets. We're going to be doing that a bunch this semester. So now we have all of our layer 3 up and running, and we even looked at some of our IP packets as traffic moved through. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is something new. We're going to console connect into our routers. If we were in a lab room, or when we are in a lab room, we are going to be connecting into routers and switches for configuration purposes. So to do that, I have packet tracers set up to simulate how we would do this in the lab room and or in real life. So we are going to connect into the Harrisburg router and take a look at it, and then we're going to connect into the Philly router and take a look at it. To do that, we are going to go to the physical tab and do this like we would be doing it in real life or in a lab room. So I'm going to click on my physical tab again. I'm going to go to the Harrisburg City, Harrisburg office, go to the Harrisburg closet. I'll zoom out just a little bit here, and you'll notice, actually I'll zoom in a little bit further. We have the equipment rack. Right next to that, we have a table and a laptop sitting on. We are going to use this laptop to connect into the router as if we would be configuring it or working on it, just like a network admin would be doing. They would take their laptop into the closet and connect into the router and work on it. This is how we'll be doing it in the lab room as well. So to do that, I'm going to, from the Harrisburg laptop, I'm going to use a console cable to connect into the router's console port. So I'm going to scroll down here so I can see the laptop. I'll zoom in a little bit. And I'm going to grab a console cable. That's this guy right here, this very first blue one. You'll see when I put a highlight over it, it says console. We're going to use that blue console cable. And by the way, in real life in our lab room, these are blue console cables. The console cables are blue as well. We're going to connect into, on the laptop here, this is the fast Ethernet port. That's the NIC. We're not going to use that one. We're going to go over here to the RS-232. That's basically a serial port. We're going to connect into the serial port, and we are going to drag that cable up here into the router. Here's the router, and there are two ports here. Let me zoom in a little bit further. There we go. There are two ports here. We don't want to use the auxiliary port. We actually want to use the console port. And if I were to look super close, we'll see that that console port is actually labeled in that light blue. That's done on purpose, the light blue cable into the light blue port. So we're going to connect it into there, and there it shows that little light blue cable going into that console port. And if I scroll down here, I'll even see my laptop has it plugged into that console port right there. So now we actually have a console connection from our laptop into the router. So now we can actually, I'll click on the laptop, I'll go to the desktop, and I'm going to use not the command prompt because that would be sending data through my NIC. We're going to use terminal. Terminal is going to send our data through the serial port into the router. It's going to send the command into the router, and then the router will send the result back to us. So we're going to use this serial port to communicate with the router, because the router does not have a monitor, keyboard, or mouse ports. We are going to use the monitor, keyboard, and mouse on our laptop here, if you will. Send the command into the router through the console port. The router will send the result back to us to our laptop. So again, I'll click on the laptop, I'll click on terminal, and I need to plug these settings in because these are basically the baud rate settings, if you will, the communication settings for this console connection. 9600, 8, none, 1, none. Those are the settings we need, and I have them listed here for you. 9600, 8, none, 1, none. That's kind of the default settings used for Cisco equipment, and actually many others as well. I'm going to click OK, and now it has connected into the router. And if I hit the enter key a couple times, it should start showing me a router prompt. It should start showing me a router prompt. Now let me do a quick, I'm going to go to view, actually office, options, preferences, and I'm going to get my font a little bit larger. Let's try 12. Let's try 12. Let's try 12, and I'll apply. There we go. Now hopefully when I'm back here on my terminal, 800, 9600, 811, that should show a little larger. There you go. Font should be a little bit larger for you. I'm now at the router prompt, and I could send a command to the router, and the router could send me the results. So we're going to do that. On the router, we're going to use the enable. We're going to go to the enable mode, and we're going to use the enable command to get to the enable mode, if you will. So I'm going to do enable, hit the enter key, and my prompt changes to the little pound sign. This first level is the user mode. When I type the enable command, I get into what's called the privilege mode, or you can think of it as admin mode, and that pound sign shows me that I'm in that admin mode, that I'm actually able to do things to the router now. So we're going to do another command. We're going to do a show run, and we're going to show the running configuration on this router. I hit the enter key, it shows one page. I'm going to hit the space bar, it'll show the next page, space bar next page, space bar next page, space bar last page. So I can now see the running configuration on this router and what it's using. This is how we connect into our routers and switches and devices to configure them. So there's my console connection for Harrisburg. I'm going to close that. And I'm going to go do the connection for the, for the Philadelphia side. We do the same thing. Philadelphia, wiring closet. I'll zoom out just a little bit. Here should be my table with my laptop. Console cable. Oops, I clicked on there by accident. Console cable, RS-232 port. Drag the cable up here to the router, to the console port, not the auxiliary, console port. There's my blue cable connecting. Open the laptop. Desktop. Terminal. 9608 none one none. Okay, hit the enter key a couple times. There's the Philadelphia router. Enabled to get to our admin mode, if you will, right there. Privilege mode, admin mode. And then I'm going to do a show run. And this shows me spacebar, 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 spacebar. Will show me all the configuration on the Philadelphia router. And it's similar, it's different, but it's similar to the Harrisburg router. So now we have a console connection in each of our devices. Now, just to show you, let's go back here. I'm going to navigate back out. There's my cities. Let's go back to the logical tab for just a second. Here is those laptops consoled in to both the routers. And you notice it's an odd looking blue arced line. That's trying to show you that's not an ordinary copper patch cable or fiber patch cable. It is a blue console cable. That's why we didn't work on these earlier. We just have these set up to be our console connection for our closets. All right, so there is our last connection we had to worry about. So the only thing left to do is actually pull together our files for submission. So last part of the lab, let's gather up our files. We're going to create a text file. So I'm going to open my little notepad or text editor. And I'm going to create a little title here. So something like CNT125 Orientation Lab. I'm going to save this. I'm going to save this to my... Actually, I have all my other stuff in the downloads folder. So I'll save it there for right now. And again, I'll call this like CNT125 Orientation Lab, something along that line. Make sure you have the .txt extension. Leave that there so D12 does not think this is a weird virus file or something. We are going to gather the IP config and trace route results from our Harrisburg PC. So let's go to the Harrisburg PC. I'm going to do this rather quickly just for time here. Command prompt, ipconfig. I'm going to grab the ipconfig results here. I just need the ipconfig. I'm going to right-click copy here. And then I will paste it into my text file. So this is my Harrisburg. I'll do it like Harrisburg PC. I'll paste that in. And now I need to do a trace over to the web server. Yep, I'm doing a trace over to the web server. So over here, let's do trace RT 192.168.30.4. And there is my successful trace. Excellent. Again, I will highlight that. I will right-click copy. Paste that in my text file. And there I know the Harrisburg side was done. That's my first two pieces that I need. The next thing I need is from the Philadelphia side. We're going to do an ipconfig all and then a ping. So I'm going to go to the, I'm going to close the Harrisburg out. I don't need him. Let's go over to the Philadelphia PC. And we need a ipconfig all, ipconfig/all. I will copy that because I want to see the DHCP part here. That's why we're doing this one a little differently. I want to see that DHCP part. And I will copy that in. Copy. Philadelphia PC. Paste.